So there are a lot of aspects to what would make a perfect Call of Duty game. And so today, we're gonna be going over some of the things that would make this game so perfect, what it would actually look like if it was to ever to actually release to the public, and for what it would mean for all of us out there playing a game that good. So let's get right into it. Let's go. You're just gonna be seeing a weird conglomeration of gameplays from the last few weeks again here. I haven't had a ton of time to record because of the holidays and everything, so it might be a weird mix of gameplays, but overall, there is so many small things that you have to consider when making a perfect Call of Duty game and how that could potentially play out. Obviously, in an ideal world, Activision would release one final Call of Duty. The Call of Duty of Call of Duties, probably just titled like Call of Duty, going back to its roots, and then just like Fortnite, updating it regularly with brand new content, brand new themes, brand new guns, brand new weapons, whatever it is to create a new fresh meta. And there's a lot of updates and changes, and that's kind of where we would go from there. But that's never going to happen because they've trained so many of us to buy the $60 version every single year. They would lose out on millions and millions and millions of dollars if they were to go to this different model. So let's start with the basics. In a competitive setting, we want to see 4v4. In pubs, it can be whatever it is. But 4v4 is ideal for competitive at the end of the day. It just makes the most sense as a whole. And then, of course, the basics, a ranked play from the beginning. From launch, there's a ranked play system in Call of Duty. It's insane that we've only had a handful of ranked plays in the past decade of Call of Duties, with World War II being the only legitimately real one outside of Black Ops 2's, which was at least solid. And then BO4s were pretty trash. AWs allowed variants inside of ranked play, which made no sense at all. And so legitimately in Call of Duty's history, there's been one really solid one, which still had its own big time problems when it came to like matchmaking and playing with parties and how that all played out. It could have been significantly better in itself, but that was the best one we had, and that's a subpar rank play compared to the majority of esports out there. And then the last obvious base thing is developer support. And so, of course, at the end of the day, you've got to have a transparent line of communication with the developers about the changes that need to be made, the updates to the metas, the gun balancing, hearing the community, hearing the pro players, and hearing the guys that matter in the scene, and receiving feedback from them, being very transparent about that, and trying to work out what's best for the players and for the community, and putting the players and the community's interests at the forefront of what's important for the changes that need to be made. So I know that already sounds like an impossible task, but that's why we're talking about the perfect Call of Duty today. So now to the next part of things. We got about weapons, the meta, GAs, and how that would look like in a perfect Call of Duty setting. First of all, from all of the systems that we've seen, the one that creates the least amount of issues is the Pick 10 system. Even though the whole gunsmith thing with like Modern Warfare and Black Ops Cold War is cool, and it adds for a lot of customization, at the end of the day, the majority of players are all using the same attachments, the same things that you would use anyway in a basic Pick 10 system. And then with the system that has right now, there's a ton of tactical spam and nade spam because you're spawning in with a nade and a tactical every single life. And then there's issues with field upgrades and how that works. At the end of the day, the Pick 10 system has been the best system for Call of Duty. It's been tried and true, and it works very, very well. And I truly believe that that's the best system overall for Call of Duty to work with moving forward. So with those things established, what would the gun meta, what would the GAs look like in this type of system? The gentleman's agreements, for those of you who might be confused about what we're talking about, with pros and how they GA certain weapons inside competition and what that looks like. Realistically, there's a base list of things that either shouldn't be in the game at all or should be obviously banned in a competitive setting. Those are things like LMGs, shotguns, tac rifles that can kill in 2 bullets, Molotovs, launchers, C4, things like that. And then like attachments like high caliber or like a rapid fire, things like that, that drastically change a gun's time to kill. It doesn't make sense for competitive Call of Duty, and I would argue it really doesn't make that much sense for Call of Duty as a whole in the first place anyway. Same goes for like tac rifles that kill in 2 bullets. There's really no reason to have that type of thing in the game at all. I don't think it really adds that much interesting gun variety in the game in the first place anyway. So overall, those are just the obvious things I think everybody kind of understands aren't very competitive in an esports setting and are okay with being banned or not used in that way. Again, in the perfect world though, of course, the game would have a very well-balanced gun system with the Pick 10 system and how that plays with the base attachments like normal and past Call of Duties. And then you have your guns. And generally, it seems like the pros have been more accepting or more willing to play with a 2-gun meta than in previous years where you would have seen 3 or 4 guns used at times. At least in my opinion, it's more interesting when you have multiple guns to work with. But I think in a realistic setting, the 2 guns probably makes the most sense for Call of Duty to have as a meta. You have your SMG, you have your AR, and then maybe you have a flex weapon that guys can use on certain maps. And that's, again, in the best case scenario, you have multiple guns that are used as flex weapons. But the pros have been more willing to GA things lately and less willing to use those guns in those ways. So it's been a weird meta. In a perfect world, the pros don't have to GA anything, and the CDL is working with Activision to create a rule set that's very fair, that works with the game to make sure nothing's broken, and then you don't have to GA as many of those things, and drastically simplifies the list when you got that picks to 10 system, and then you look into the score streaks and everything else. So speaking of score streaks, basically the last few years, we've only seen basically 2 score streaks used at all, and that's a Hellstorm and a Lightning Strike. And those are the 2 streaks that pros have been very comfortable using and how that plays out competitively. And I think I do agree with that at the end of the day, those are the most likely and logical streaks to use in a competitive setting. And this year, Black Ops Cold War has allowed teams to kind of adjust the prices of score streaks ourselves, which could also work in this perfect system where the devs actually let the pro players kind of create their own metas in that way and allow for a lot of these things to be customizable inside of the custom game settings themselves. And that would, again, free up a lot of the issues that we have, and we wouldn't have to be as reliant on the devs to make those small, minute decisions to where the pros could just make them ourselves and then implement them into the rule set, which would then be quickly implemented into the official rule set in-game, in custom games, by the developer of the game. But yeah, in a perfect world, I would love to see like a 3 or 4 gun meta, and then having a sidearm for the ARs with some nice pistol that's actually viable. And then the snipers, again, you need to have flinch for the snipers. It's so OP right now, even in game with the pros, with how good sniping is in S&D. It's insane, and I'm not going to rule out that this year it's currently going to get GA'd still. It very well could in the upcoming few weeks, and it causes just massive problems for competitive COD as a whole. But anyway, AR-wise, I would love to see a burst AR in play. BO3 had a really good system going on where you had basically the M8 being used, you had the Man of War for a while being used, then in SMGs, you had the VMP was being used, and then for a while, you had the really close range rushing SMG, which was the Vesper. I think there is some sort of balance there where players can get good or have a good chance to use the fast up close killing SMGs in a different way. And I think there is a world where you have a 4-gun meta where 2 SMGs, 2 ARs are used, and one's more of a flex weapon, and then you have a long range beamer weapon for certain maps. But again, the maps have to be very diverse in the competitive scene where you can use all of these in different ways. So that's also a factor as well. So now let's head in. So now speaking of maps, let's head into our last little section here, which is basically like map design, league support, DLCs, broadcast, private matches, all these smaller things that would be involved with having a perfect competitive Call of Duty. But as for the maps, it's pretty straightforward. First of all, you've got to bring back every single Call of Duty from here on out, 3 to 5 of the legendary maps that can be played in 4v4 every single year. So you need to have some legendary map options. No matter what, you're going to have at least a handful of good maps that are used from the past Call of Duties that we know, that we love, and that we know work in S&D or CTF or in Control or Uplink or whatever game modes we have moving forward. You've got to bring back some of these legendary maps that we know work for competitive, that we know are fun for competitive, and would keep people engaged and enjoying the game all year long playing competitive Call of Duty. And then when it comes like the map design themselves, I think we've seen the formula. It's very 3-lane based, and then with a balance of decent power positions with oversights watching these lanes and counter positions to work those ways, and then interesting rotation spots and a battle for spawns. And again, of course, the spawn system is a whole nother thing that you could talk about, that we need to have a traditional spawn system that worked like past Call of Duties. Unlike even Black Ops Cold War spawns, they're better than Modern Warfare's. They still need some work to get to a point where they're ideal, and that's all with the battle with the new engine and everything else. But there's all of those things that have to get worked out, and the map design is so crucial. And I think having a mix of those old school maps with the new ones would be a great way to ensure that every single year moving forward, we have a good combination of competitive maps that are useful, that really just work. And that's all we really need to have a good competitive COD at the end of the day. Think about how many good maps we've had in the past that really do work well for Call of Duty. And hopefully in a world where, you know, the devs aren't as clingy about their maps and can bring back certain maps from other games in Treyarch games or Sledgehammer games or Infinity Ward games, depending on if those maps would actually work with the game that they're making. And that would just help overall with the fluidity of these games moving forward and how that could all play out. I mean, think about, you know, bringing back Raid here in Black Ops Cold War has completely changed how this game plays in a lot of ways competitively. And you can feel that this game has a good base and it's really fun to play on Raid, but all the other maps in the game really hold the game back because they're just not ideal for competitive either. And Raid just feels so right and so perfect and so good overall competitively. And we need more of that moving forward if we want competitive COD to thrive. So obviously in other things that we need that we're just gonna list off here, anti-cheat, of course, necessary now with the switch to PC and playing with a controller on PC. Then you need a clean CODcaster mode that is really simple for the broadcast and how that looks on screen, and overall easy to work with and supports the amateur scene in a very easy and simple way. And hopefully improvements to that continue to come forward as we're on PC now, and it makes it even easier and easier to work with those types of things. So I would love to see a beautiful, pristine CODcaster from here on out in Call of Duty with a lot of the similar things that come back each year. Seeing the stats on a nice map, some more customizable options for in-game for us casuals out there that don't have the access to a lot of things that the CDL would have or other things like that. And just overall, there could be a lot of improvements that could be made to, I think, to the CODcaster to really help the amateur scene as a whole to organize itself in that way. Then similarly, like a legit, clean, just glitchless theater mode. Right now, there's so many issues with the theater mode, and we had that in BO4 as well with how many issues there were. And it's just sad that it gets neglected so hard. It's so important for the competitive scene to be able to go back and watch VODs of your team and how you play, and to be able to catch any cheaters on the opposing team that look a little sketch for certain things that they're doing. And you can check, you know, ping and check the internet connection to the opposing team and everything else with how that plays out. And so there's so many advantages to having a theater mode and how that can play. So from here on out, every Call of Duty desperately needs a theater mode that works from the beginning all the way through. And then here the last things are the integration of the CDL into the game itself when it comes to DLC, when it comes to camos, when it comes to crowdfunding through the game, when it comes to creator codes, and overall just the ability for the competitive COD community to be integrated into the game fully. And it overall will drive casual fans to play ranked play. So when you're a certain level in ranked play, you unlock certain things in the game. You unlock cool camos, you unlock cool operators. Like let's say you're a Master Prestige in Call of Duty and you get like a COD champ skin of Scumpy in game. People would be beyond hyped for something like that. Or if you reach a certain level in ranked, you get to unlock a certain level of operator of a pro player in game, or you get rings to put on your guns, or whatever it is, customizable options for your players or your skins or your guns or anything as a whole. Those things can all be in the game, and then portions of that go to crowdfund the esport. And so you can end up having like $10-20 million prize pools inside of competitive Call of Duty because of the items that were sold in the store itself. So all of these things combined are things that would make a competitive Call of Duty so good, and we can only wish and hope and dream that one day these things will actually all be in the game at launch that work and are seamless transitions for competitive Call of Duty. And if these things all happened, I have no doubt in my mind that competitive COD would be massive with 500,000 plus viewers every single event, no matter what. But these things have to be in the game from launch to convert the 20-30 million people that have bought Call of Duty each year into competitive Call of Duty fans. And all of these things lead towards doing that and making competitive Call of Duty better for everyone moving forward. And man, oh man, it gets me so excited to think about the potential that competitive Call of Duty has, but we're never seeing it because the developers keep holding back the things that we desperately need from the beginning of the game, convert to casual fans and to competitive Call of Duty fans. And eventually it might happen, but hopefully it's not too late before all of the superstars of Call of Duty retire. So I would love to hear all your comments down below about what you think I missed and what aspects of COD that, you know, are drastically important to the future of Call of Duty as a whole, to making a perfect Call of Duty game. And would love to see all those comments down below about your thoughts and everything else. So if you guys enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you guys really enjoyed it. I really do appreciate it. I'm trying to do this full time and I cannot do that without you guys. So like I always say, I really do appreciate it. But as always, guys, I'm your boy Abezy, and we will see you next time. I'm out.